At the top of the hour, I said I was going to say something more about first humans landing on the moon, which occurred 50 years ago this past weekend. And I am going to say, if this is an example, I am not a believer in making saints out of past leaders. I think we need to see them, flaws and all. By the way, making saints, as some of you probably know, is called hagiography. So I'm not into hagiography of past presidents or whomever, including John Fitzgerald Kennedy, who was a complex Cold War figure. But this is really interesting. And on the anniversary of the moon landing, it's something that's been percolating in my head for a long time. A lot of people don't realize everybody framed the race to the moon. That was the way we all talked about it, the race to the moon. And Americans won the race to the moon. And I saw a quote from one of the moon landing astronauts saying, I didn't really care about walking on the moon or seeing the moon close up. I just wanted to serve my country by beating the Russians. That was what it was all about. But what people didn't realize at the time was that John F. Kennedy was really interested in making the voyage to the moon, the moon mission, a joint project between the United States and the Soviet Union. He brought it up with Soviet Premier Nikita Khrushchev multiple times. There's a good article about it in Nature magazine. At first, first of all, he was concerned about the expenditure, the costs of getting to the moon, but he also thought it would be a great way to de-escalate tensions. So he brought it up to Khrushchev first in 1961, and Khrushchev said, well, let's get a nuclear test ban treaty first. 1963, according to, and as Nature puts it, Kennedy's vision was to form an Apollo program that would build bridges between the two powers instead of heightening Cold War rivalries. But there was a Berlin Wall, there was a Cuban Missile Crisis. Finally, in 1963, Kennedy invited, I guess, quasi-formally, the Soviet Union to work with the United States. He did it in a speech to the UN, and Khrushchev was on the verge, according to historians, of responding favorably when Kennedy was shot, and Lyndon Johnson had no interest in pursuing it. But imagine how different we would look at the 1960s if we had landed on the moon as a mission of peace instead of as a mission of a Cold War.